Good morning, colleagues. We're going to get started, please. Can you take your seats? Her Ladyship, the Honorable Chief Justice Margaret Price Findley, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Honorable Senator Anthony Vieira of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Godfrey Smith, CARICOM's High-Level Representative on Law and Criminal Justice, Jairo Alfaro, Team Lead of Governance, UNDP, Latin America and the Caribbean, Christine Polcher, Senior Magistrate, St. Lucia, members of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, members of the Caribbean Court of Justice, representatives from the Justice Education Society, other specially invited guests and panelists, UNDP colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Jason Lacorbinier. I'm the head of cluster for poverty and governance, monitoring and evaluation at the UNDP country office in Barbados. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the launch and handover of the Victim-Offender Mediation Toolkit. I want to thank you all for joining us. I'll be taking you through today's proceedings. We have some very exciting discussions planned, and we're looking forward to your engagement. Today marks a really important milestone for UNDP. We designed this Victim Offender Mediation project in 2023, and it was part of a wider strategy of supporting the region on criminal justice reform that started back in 2020 with the launch of the needs assessment of the judicial system in 9 countries in the Caribbean. In that assessment, we found many common issues: the slow pace of police investigations, inordinate delays in production of depositions, limited human and technological resources. You know this list. It's a very long list, and all of you are fully aware of what these main challenges are. Importantly, another key finding of this work was the overuse of pretrial detention because of a lack of alternative pretrial options in criminal cases, including mediation. At the time, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court was one of the many stakeholders we spoke to, and then they revealed that they were already working in the space with countries to understand needs and assess the opportunities for a harmonized approach to criminal mediation. Over the next few years, we developed a suite of programs around the findings. On our flagship program, which was designed with the support of the EU, it's called the Partnership of the Caribbean and the EU on Justice, or PACE Justice as it's most commonly known, which you'll hear a lot more about in the proceedings today. In addition to that, we developed this program, which focused exclusively on piloting a VOM approach in the region, using a proprietary toolkit that combined both global best practices and regional successes. Naturally, as part of the work, we partnered again with the ECSC to understand the current landscape at the time and to support the pilot, and to get them to support the pilot here in St. Lucia. And now, as we transition to the phase down of the particular standalone project, the ECSC has again stepped in to support the sustainability of the work, agreeing to be the custodian of the toolkit and to embed it in their mediation training and capacity building work. So today, as we officially hand over the toolkit to the court, we want to thank the Honorable Chief Justice and her team at the ECSC for the incredible collaboration and for continuing this important work in service of improving access to justice for both victims and offenders across the region. So with that very brief overview, I'm going to hand over now to Team Lead for Governance, Jairo Alfaro, for his opening remarks. Jairo?
Good morning. Honorable Chief Justice, protocols observed. I'm very proud and happy to be in St. Lucia for my first time. I heard that it was going to be a warm country, but it's a very cold room inside. But I have to very briefly, on behalf of UNDP, thank the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court for agreeing to partner with us and the European Union in this very important matter that affects St. Lucia, but also the rest of the Caribbean countries and Latin America and the Caribbean at large. My role in the organization is a regional role, and I advise countries across the region on governance, access to justice, citizen security, and criminal justice reform. And I have to say that this toolkit that we are handing over today is one of a kind in the region. And it's an example of how do we translate needs into practice and work together with the institutions. At UNDP, we develop programs and projects together with our counterparts and our institutions. We are proud to partner with the European Union in this partnership of the Caribbean on justice issues. And in our work, our role is mostly try to identify what are the needs that these institutions have and how can we work with them, for them, and by them. And once that work is done, we transfer that information or those protocols, processes, mechanisms to the institutions. The abuse of pretrial is a concern. We have also identified that there are major bottlenecks in the criminal justice chain in the region, and we sincerely hope that this new toolkit on violent offender mediation process can help us alleviate and offer alternatives to the population that gets somehow in this process. The more that we can divert cases in the criminal justice, the more that will reduce the bottlenecks that we are experiencing. But not only that, the more opportunities that we are giving the population, the citizen, especially the youngsters, to have a better chance in life. We were just discussing with the Chief Justice before the opening remarks that in the case of St. Lucia, unfortunately, there are many youngsters that get trapped in that process, and we need to find ways to give them alternatives to develop their own quality of life and contribute to development in the country. So having said that, I am very happy to join this formal handover this morning and looking forward to the two important conversations that we are going to have afterwards. One on the actual stages of the toolkit, but also how do we move forward with the need hand points declaration on how to reduce or how to improve criminal justice in the Caribbean. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate and join you this morning.
Thank you so much, Jairo. I've been to these events all over the region, and the rooms are always incredibly cold. I think part of that is there's an intention to freeze you in the room so that when you go outside, you really enjoy the warmth and you want to come back to the country. So I suspect that's part of it. Thank you so much for those remarks, Jairo. I think the idea of moving from needs, converting needs into practice is exactly what we're aiming to do with this program, but also the wider work that we're doing on criminal justice reform. So thank you. So I'm now going to invite Her Ladyship, the Honorable Chief Justice Margaret Price Finley, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, to deliver her remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to adopt the protocol list already established. Oh, Lord. Let me start by saying it is both a privilege and a pleasure to be with you here today at this important event, marking the formal handover of the Victim-Offender Mediation Toolkit to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. I extend my sincere appreciation to the UNDP and the PACE Justice Project for their invaluable partnership and foresight in developing this comprehensive and timely resource. Today's ceremony is more than symbolic. It marks a commitment, a shared commitment to justice that heals, to systems that serve all parties equitably, and to processes that reduce harm and build trust within our communities. Our acceptance of the Victim-Offender Mediation Toolkit represents a significant step toward embedding restorative justice into the heart of our criminal justice system. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court welcomes this toolkit, not merely as a manual, but as a manifestation of a unified vision, one that aligns strongly with the objectives of the Needham's Point Declaration. We recognize the urgent need to alleviate case backlogs, promote meaningful dialogue and rehabilitation, and restore agency and dignity to victims. Restorative justice, when done well, accomplishes all of these things. And mediation, as outlined in this toolkit, offers us a path forward. This toolkit offers 4 key contributions that I would like to highlight. First, it provides a structured guide to establishing victim-offender mediation protocols, thus offering us a roadmap for implementation that is both practical and contextually grounded. Second, the training modules included are a vital resource for building the skills of mediators, judicial officers, and other justice sector personnel. As we work to professionalize mediation in the criminal context, such capacity building will be essential. Thirdly, it draws upon real-world experience of pilot countries. These lived examples help us to understand both the opportunities and the challenges involved in introducing restorative practices within the existing legal framework. And fourthly, and perhaps most importantly, the toolkit provides guidance on safeguarding victim rights. Mediation must never come at the expense of victim safety, choice, or voice. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is proud to be a strategic partner in this initiative. We recognize that for criminal mediation to move from pilot to practice, courts must lead the way, not only by embracing innovation, but by ensuring that it is implemented with integrity, consistency, and care. As we move into today's roundtable, the Court looks forward to offering its insights and hearing from other stakeholders. In particular, we hope to contribute in the following areas. 1. By offering judicial perspectives on integrating mediation into criminal proceedings without compromising legal rigor or due process. 2. By setting standards and frameworks for mediation training across our jurisdictions, so that all participants can have confidence in the quality and impartiality of the process. 3rd, by identifying practical pathways for building institutional readiness, including resource allocation, legislative support, and public sensitization. And finally, by helping to harmonize the mediation practices across the region, ensuring that all citizens under the ECSC's jurisdiction benefit equally from these reforms. I also wish to emphasize the role of restorative practices in case management. Our courts, like many around the world, face increasing pressures from rising caseloads. Mediation offers a way to resolve matters early, appropriately, and with lasting outcomes. This is not merely administrative efficiency, it is substantive justice. And I will encourage the necessary amendments to the existing legislation to be undertaken by the various governments of the Eastern Caribbean so that this practice can come into effect quickly. But for these practices to take root, we must build trust among the public, within the judiciary, and across the justice system. This is where institutional leadership becomes essential. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court is committed to this leadership role. We will support the integration of the VOM into the judicial education process, and we will ensure the appropriate use of restorative practices through clear guidelines. And we will remain open to learning from our regional and international courts. Let me close by thanking again the UNDP and the Pace Justice Project for their vision, collaboration, and commitment. To all the participants, I encourage you to engage fully in the discussions ahead. Let us not only exchange ideas, but chart a course towards a justice system that restores, rehabilitates, and truly serves the people it was meant to serve. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chief Justice. Not that much taller, but I'm going to pretend that I am. Thank you so much, Madam Chief Justice, for highlighting the incredible value, and I would argue the necessity for us to continue this move towards greater use of restorative justice and to push on the restorative justice agenda. You have been a champion of mediation for a long time. We anticipate and hope and expect that you will continue to support this work in your new role. Thank you. I mentioned at the outset that this program was part of a wider agenda of UNDP to support criminal justice reform. The flagship project that I mentioned, which you see kind of everywhere around you, is the Pace Justice Project. So here to tell you a bit more online. Are we ready, Alvin? Yeah. Is the program manager, or the project manager rather, of the Pace Justice Project, Crystal Gemma. Chris, are you with us?
Good morning, Jason. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Can you tell me if you're seeing my presentation?
Not yet, Chris.
Not yet?
No, still nothing.
Okay, let me try to share again. Are you seeing it now?
It's there, but it's not in presentation mode. So if you put it in presentation mode, we should be good to go. Awesome.
How about now?
All good.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, and I apologize for the technical challenges there. So good morning to distinguished partners, stakeholders, and colleagues. It's such a pleasure to join you this morning on this exciting handover of the VOM toolkit, and I would like to take this opportunity to really congratulate my colleagues who worked very tirelessly over the last year to get us to this point. For today's overview of the Pace Justice Project, I would like to start by featuring a highlight video from the project launch, which took place in Barbados in October 2023. In the video, you will hear directly from key stakeholders in the justice sector across the region, and you will hear directly from them about why this project, this Pace Justice Project, is so important. And we will also hear about how the project intends and has been propelling critical reforms in the criminal justice sector across the region. So I will play the video now.
According to data from the World
Recording
Prison
in progress.
50% of the total Caribbean prison population were being held without a conviction in 2021. Similarly, according to an IDB study, male prisoners on remand spend between 2.5 to 4 years in prison. And there are well-documented cases of prisoners spending more than 10 years on remand.
The reasons for the backlog are multifaceted. The pace of investigation by police, the inordinate delays in production of depositions, the lack of human and technological resources.
An inefficient criminal justice system can rapidly become an ineffective criminal justice system. It costs our people, it costs our businesses, and it costs our taxpayers.
The time is ripe for the Caribbean to pick up the pace, to deliver to its citizens a level of criminal justice administration which is commensurate to international standards.
The overarching aim of the project, the Pace Justice Project, is to improve universal access to justice in the Caribbean. The project specifically will do this through reducing or seeking to reduce the backlogs in the criminal justice systems across the region.
The PACE Justice Program will be implemented over the next 48 months by the United Nations Development Program in 8 beneficiary countries: Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Trinidad and Tobago.
Some of the areas that we will be focusing on include the deployment of hardware and software, interventions on procedural reforms, and alignment of information management systems.
The PACE Justice Project intends to develop locally owned, purpose-built software for police, courts, and prisons, which will be designed, tested, and scaled across the region with interoperability as a primary functionality. This cross-sectional approach will automate information sharing between the different institutions of the justice sector. These interventions will target several impediments which have strained the efficiency of our justice systems, in particular, the weakness in police data capture, outdated court case handling systems and processes, paper-based evidence management systems, limited digitalization of correction systems, processes, and witness tampering protection, just to name a few.
There are a number of regional activities that will be happening, including some with the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. And so, of course, all of the countries that are members of that court will benefit directly from that.
This is going to be driven by what works for each country. It may work in some jurisdictions, others may have a different mechanism. So and I think the sort of committee approach has worked in a number of other projects, like task forces in our Carry Secure project. So I think it's certainly something to be considered.
Thank you, the PACE project, for including St. Lucia in this project. We're excited and we look forward to it because we do have a backlog in St. Lucia.
You know, there's a saying in Trinidad, if your neighbor house burning down, wet your own. So I just want us to be mindful of that. We may spend a lot of time and resources across the region implementing better systems that will work across the board. That'll be the impetus for even countries who aren't included and represented in the project. But if we don't change the culture of the people, the major stakeholders, we will not get it right.
There will need to be sharing of information on the success stories, what's working in different jurisdictions. So even though you intend for it to be bespoke solutions, I think each jurisdiction has to see what is happening in the others.
Different cultures, different backgrounds, but I have a feeling that those are the common threads that we all face, and that's why the PACE Justice Project is so important.
I am so excited about this project, and I'm excited at the prospects of this project. It didn't come too soon, and I'm looking forward to the possibilities. I thank you all very sincerely.
Yes, the project will bring different suggestions, alternatives, solutions from many countries, including the EU. But it's on this sub-region to decide what works for itself. And that's why the conversation has to continue. So some of these questions that we're discussing is the beginning of a deliberation in terms of what does the sub-region want.
Since 2018, we've been working on this, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of consultations with more or less everyone in this room. It's a people-centered approach. We didn't just design this in a box or have a narrow scope. We consulted all our stakeholders, so it's designed by you, and I believe that's what makes the project so different.
So as we have just seen in the project launch video, the PACE project is focused on criminal justice reform in the Caribbean region with a specific focus on reducing the case backlogs across the 8 countries that were mentioned in the video. In order to address the pain points in the system which lead to the backlogs, the project has been designed across 3 pillars or output areas, as we can see on this slide. Output 1 focuses on enhancing technology and infrastructure systems in an aim to modernize systems, as we know that they have been largely paper-based and manual. Output 2 focuses on empowering stakeholders and building capacities to give criminal justice stakeholders the tools to move the cases through the systems more expeditiously based on the specific gaps or areas of need at the individual and agency levels. And output 3 focuses on improving processes, procedures, and coordination, including the development or amendment of legislation. We'll hear more about that a little later on, creative inter- and intra-agency protocols, and strengthening national and regional frameworks in an effort to enhance the movement of case dispensation and propel collaboration that will be critical if backlog reduction is to be achieved. And so what I would like to do now is focus on some of the key achievements that we have had to date. The project started implementation in April 2024 and has already made a meaningful mark. We've achieved quite a great deal in a short time, advancing some impactful regional work across the 3 output areas. What I'm going to do now is extrapolate some of the key achievements. I won't be able to speak about everything in this short space of time, but I really want to share some of the critical impacts that we've made to date in regionally and in some of the countries specifically. The project successfully procured key ICT equipment, including desktops, laptops, scanners, digital recording systems, and servers to modernize systems across the region. These technological upgrades have been designed to enhance efficiency, accuracy, and accessibility of judicial processes, facilitating smoother case management and supporting the long-term digital transformation of justice sector operations. Importantly for the region, I really want to talk about the procurement of Liberty digital recording systems, which were procured for the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, for the EC countries, and for Guyana. These systems will address significant case backlogs caused by delays in transcript production, a critical component needed to advance cases through the court system, especially when we look at the backlogs that are caused by the delays in transcriptions for the courts of appeals. We successfully completed a regional training series in criminal mediation, restorative justice, and children in conflict with the law. Over 210 justice sector stakeholders across 7 Caribbean countries participated, strengthening capacity for alternative justice solutions and better outcomes for vulnerable groups. One exciting outcome is that the project has been invited to support the establishment of Barbados's first criminal mediation unit, and this is a strong signal of the project's regional influence and its role in driving real reform. One of our standout achievements since we launched was the Attorneys General Roundtable, held in February this year, with participation from 6 out of our 8 AGs. The sessions focused on plea negotiation and judge-alone trials, 2 critical tools for reducing criminal case backlogs across the region. The response was resounding, and the AGs commended the roundtable for its relevance, clarity, and value. And even more encouraging, the AGs themselves have committed to holding the roundtable twice a year, and the next roundtable will be held in November 2025 this year. and the AGs have also expressed a wish to sustain the roundtable beyond the life of the project. And this is really important as we want to ensure that the sustainability, the impact of the project is felt long after the project ends in 2027. The Barbados Backlog Reduction Symposium was also held in February of this year in collaboration with the AG's office and the Barbados Police Service, and convened key regional and international stakeholders to examine innovative strategies for addressing criminal case backlogs in Barbados. The two-day event featured high-level plenaries and expert-led breakout sessions. The symposium serves as a platform to share best practices, not just for Barbados, but regionally, and share a forward-looking roadmap for backlog reduction, which was anchored or is anchored in resilience and both national and regional cooperation. And at that symposium, we had colleagues from the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the CCJ, the European Union, and we really, for this project, want to ensure that national, regional, and international best practices are incorporated into all that we do. Belize has been the first country to complete a justice sector diagnostic under the Pace Justice Project. The comprehensive assessment was completed across the magistrates and high courts, mapping digital infrastructure, internal workflows, and court processes, and public services. The findings have offered clear, actionable recommendations to drive innovation and improve efficiency. The diagnostic will anchor Belize's national digital justice agenda, and true to Pace Justice's regional model, Belize's experience will now inform similar assessments, which will be taking place across our other Pace Justice countries in 2025. And this will ensure shared learning and smarter implementation across the region. The very innovative Criminal Law Practitioners Program was launched in Trinidad and Tobago in early 2025. And will train 60 early year attorneys to build their capacity and interest in criminal law practice. The training will cover key areas of legislation, sharpen trial advocacy, and case preparation skills. The courses will emphasize ethics, courtroom conduct, and client rights. Importantly, it will introduce alternative justice approaches, such as restorative justice and diversion, shaping a new generation of practitioners committed to effective and people-centered justice. And already we can see the synergies between the VOM toolkit, the CLIP program, says the Criminal Law Practitioners Program in Trinidad and Tobago, and the thrust of the project to ensure that alternative measures are introduced across the region to help propel backlog reduction. Through expanding the pool of competent criminal law practitioners, the CLIP program will support backlog reduction, ensuring more cases are handled efficiently, ethically, and in a timely manner. And in Dominica, PACE is supporting critical legislative reform to tackle case backlogs and strengthen justice delivery. Together with Dominica, we've already completed a legal review of the Police Act and Evidence Ordinance, refining outdated provisions and improving clarity. Next up, we will work to finalize amendments to expand reviews to other pieces of legislation. Legislative reform is a key component of PACE Justice, of the PACE Justice Project. So we can expect to see in 2025 through to 2027, we can expect to see this type of legislative support expand to the end of the project. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Vanessa, our project specialist, who has been working very closely with our stakeholders, Dominica and St. Lucia, to support these efforts. Belize hosted a groundbreaking conference on criminal justice reform from September 2nd to 6th in 2024. It was organized by the Senior Courts of Belize in collaboration with the PACE Project and the Caribbean Court of Justice. The conference brought together over 120 judges, magistrates, Crown Counsel, Defense Counsel, police prosecutors, forensic analysts, and other regional stakeholders. The event served as an important platform for future training, learning, and partnerships, and fostered continued collaboration and innovation in the region's criminal justice efforts. And PACE Justice, importantly, has been supporting the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court in the has been supporting the ECSC's Criminal Procedure Rules Committee, which has been convened to advance work on finalizing the criminal procedure rules. Through facilitating the committee, The project is contributing to ongoing efforts to standardize and modernize criminal justice procedures, ensuring they align with best practices and regional needs. The finalization of these rules is expected to enhance efficiency, fairness, and accessibility of criminal justice systems, supporting the broader goals of justice reform and backlog reduction across the region. And here I want to show a snapshot of the criminal mediation, restorative justice, and children in conflict with the law training that we have done across the region. And what I hope this slide shows is the engagement of the beneficiaries, of the participants, of our partners in this training series. We really aim to ensure that our trainings, that our initiatives are collaborative and that they are meaningful and meet the needs of the stakeholders as reflected in the working sessions and the feedback that we necessarily got to design the trainings and the overall project design. Looking forward, we have a number of exciting initiatives planned across the region, and I'm just going to mention these briefly. We will continue to procure necessary equipment, especially and software, case management systems, and so on, coming out of digitalization assessments that will be happening in the EC countries, as mentioned, already completed in Guyana and launching in Trinidad and Tobago as well very soon. And coming out of these assessments, the recommendations are meant to identify case management solutions and technological solutions that can help enhance cohesion and collaboration within agencies and among the justice sector agencies. We also have some exciting regional trainings coming up. Police investigation training. This will be a regional training focused on crime scene investigation. Police and DPP training meant to strengthen the collaboration between the police and DPP to ensure that stronger cases go before the court. Case management training and digitalization, evidence training in Barbados, rehabilitation and assessment intake training for prisons, and we continue to work with the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court on public awareness initiatives, including a lecture on backlog reduction that should be happening later this year, and a backlog reduction symposium that will be happening in October. We continue the legislative work with Dominica and St. Lucia, and we will be having discussions with other countries to advance work in those jurisdictions as well. As mentioned, the Attorneys General Roundtable, the second installation of that will happen in November. We also have judge alone trial sensitization across the region. At the Attorneys General Roundtable, this was identified as an area where they would really require some support from the project to propel the need for this mechanism to enhance backlog reduction. And protocols and guidelines for diversion, we specifically are working in St. Kitts and Nevis on this. And in closing, we have key partnerships, and it's really important for me to mention the work that we're doing with El Pacto. El Pacto is our sister project that is funded by the European Union, and it focuses on transnational organized crime. And we have been working with El Pacto and will continue working with them, especially on AI and prison rehabilitation. As mentioned, the ECSC, we're working with them on the criminal procedure rules, public awareness, and our work with the courts in the EC countries happen through the ECSC as the umbrella agency for those courts. We continue to have a very important partnership with CARICOM and CCJ, and we work with them to do trainings, workshops, and the CCJ conference that will be happening later this year. And we partnered with them for the conference in 2023 that led to the Needham's Point Declaration. So this is a very important partnership. We will be working with UNODC, that's UN Office on Drugs and Crime, for our and Europol for our police investigation training that will be happening, will be starting in about July or August of this year. UE is an important partner for training and curriculum development. We are having discussions with the JEIs across the region to work with us on rolling out some of the training initiatives, and IDB. We We partnered with IDB for the Barbados Backlog Symposium and the Needham's Point Town Hall that took place last year. So IDB continues to be an important partner as well. And before closing, I really want to mention that we have been working very closely with the working committees that have been established across the region in each of the PACE Justice countries. And those working committees are chaired by the Attorneys General. They have been constituted by the Attorneys General in each country. And so we have high-level support. The members of the working committees comprise heads of prison, heads of police, senior magistrates, senior judges. And it is because of the tireless work of the working committees that we've been able to do a lot of the work that we have accomplished on the ground in the country. So I really want to thank the working committees. I want to thank the partners. We look forward to working with each of you in the room. Thank you for your partnership. And in 2025, 2026, and of course until 2027, we look forward to our continued collaboration with you. And thank you again. Thank you again for making the project a success to date. So with that, Jason, and colleagues, I will end there. But thanks again for this opportunity to present. And I wish you a great rest of ceremony. I will be here virtually, online.
Thank you so much, Crystal, Chris, for the presentation and for obviously your strategic leadership of the PACE team. Chris shared PACE successes to date. There's been a lot of foundational work, as you would have seen, number of ICT deployments, training, partnership building, and so on. Also, she's highlighted the huge task that we have ahead of us in 2025, 2026. So we're really looking forward to all of your support as we implement the rest of this very important program. It's also good to have Cairo here at this time from our regional hub. The hub provides both technical assistance to us in the Barbados MCO, but also they support our work in resource mobilization. And so Cairo helps us find money, find resources to continue the work that we're doing. So if you happen to speak to Jairo during the time that you're here, please feel free to mention to him how happy you are with my team and the work that we're doing, and how much you're looking forward to continuing this work. So now we move into the next presentation. So it's a presentation on the structure of the toolkit, its components, and the implementation strategy. Vanessa Untid, who's the project specialist with the PACE Justice Project, will take us through this. Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jason Lacofinier. Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here in St. Lucia, a place where I feel as comfortable as at home, because I have been here many times and I know almost all of you. And I must say that working with you over the past year has truly been a pleasure. So thank you very much. Since I first heard about criminal mediation, I started to wonder, am I for it or against it? I have been working in the judiciary for 22 years, and I started to work in the civil and criminal courts, so I was very familiar to civil mediation. And it was very normal to have mediation in family cases, but nobody talked about criminal mediation. Criminal mediation was very far away from us. We even didn't want to hear about it. But then somebody started talking about criminal mediation. So as I have already said, I started to wonder, am I for it or against it? Because it was something completely new to me. And I have to admit, and the colleagues that work with me know, that sometimes I resist new ideas out of fear, or simply because I think, why not have things and leave things as they are? So here we are today. Me, really looking forward to have criminal mediation everywhere. I really like having this kind of solution. I think that when we started to think of bringing criminal mediation to court, and me with this European background, I'm always trying to see, is this aligned with Article 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights that says that everybody has right to a fair trial and everybody has the right to access to justice. So, wow, is this access to justice? Is this access into a fair trial? And then I have to say that after a lot of years being involved with this criminal mediation issue, I have to say yes, it is aligned to it. And I think that with this toolkit that has been developed by our colleague Brian Migowi, and this victim-offender mediation program that was drafted and designed by Juliet Solomon and Rayana Shankar, now here we are today in this handover ceremony. So let's stop talking about a lot of things that always Jason said, go and focus to the point. So I'm going to start focusing to the point, and is to present the toolkit. So as always, I forgot one thing. So the pretrial victim-offender mediation toolkit is not merely a procedural guide. It is a transformative justice instrument tailored to address two challenges in the Caribbean justice system: growing case backlog and limited victim satisfaction. Developed through field-tested collaboration with Belize and St. Lucia, this toolkit reflects regional commitment to innovation, fairness, and accountability within criminal justice system. Victim-offender mediation, rather than replacing the court process, it complements it, enabling certain cases to be resolved earlier, more constructively, and with community-oriented outcomes. Restorative justice principles and legal safeguard. This toolkit is grounded in internationally recognized principles of restorative justice and legal safeguards, including those outlined by the United Nations and the European Commission for the Efficiency of Justice, well known as CEPEJ. These principles uphold the rights of both victims and offenders through voluntary informed participation, access to legal support and protection for minors, confidentiality of proceedings, and non-use of mediation as evidence of guilt. The mediation process consists of 4 distinct phases. The mediation process outlined in the toolkit includes these 4 phases. The first one is the intake, referral eligible cases based on eligibility and case sustainability. Pre-mediation, mediators meet separately with victims and offenders to explain the process, secure the voluntary consent, access readiness, and schedule the joint session. Then we have the mediation session. That is a facilitated confidential dialogue leading to a restitution agreement. And finally, the post-mediation. The mediation outcome is reported to the court. I remember when going to different countries here in the region, I was always asked, but what is the involvement of the court? Is the court involved when we are talking about mediation? And as I always say that, at least, and I think that here is the same, when you have this mediation case, then at the end, it comes to court to ensure that all the agreements are fulfilled, and if not, to enforce the agreement. And agreements are validated and monitored, and failure to comply may result in restraint, charge, or other judicial consequences. Each phase is designed to uphold the dignity of participants while ensuring judicial oversight and procedural efficiency. The toolkit introduces standardized confidentiality agreements and outcome reporting templates, proportionate enforceable restitution options, protocols for judicial oversight and follow-up enforcement, and tailored protection for minors, trauma survivors, and vulnerable groups. It ensures that victims are never re-victimized by the process, and that offenders are held accountable in ways that are constructive and rehabilitative. The toolkit recommends formal adoption of legal frameworks, such as practice direction on criminal mediation, establishment of national mediator training and accreditation systems, integration of digital tools to monitor implementation and impact, widespread sensitization campaigns across justice institutions, and regional collaboration through learning platforms and community of practice. And let me stop here in this, the monitor, implementation, and impact. That is a topic that my colleague Jason is very interested in, because if we don't monitor and if we don't have a way to measure the impact, then how can we tell this is going to reduce the backlog? So these data are very important, and it's very important to be able to monitor the results of the criminal mediation to see if this is really reducing the backlog or not. And then the VOM toolkit promotes quicker resolution of cases, enhances victim empowerment, and fosters more meaningful accountability from offenders. This toolkit represents a strategic investment in modernizing justice. It aligns with both international best practices and regional declaration on reducing backlog, such as the Needham's Declaration point. It supports a justice system that is not only more efficient, but more human, accessible, and credible for all. Saying all this, I want to thank our colleague Brian Miwawi, that was the expert that developed this toolkit and was working with all this team. And so thank you very much. I know he's now online. And this is a very quick presentation of the toolkit. You will have the opportunity to go through it and read it with all the with all the detail that is needed. But I didn't want to boring you today with all this going like very deeply on in this toolkit. So I hope you will have the opportunity to read it, and I hope we will have the opportunity to discuss all the things that you will want to during the panel discussions today, and why not after today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Also want to take this opportunity to add my thanks to Brian for all of his work on creating the toolkit. I think he did an excellent job. And also, again, to thank you all for your support. We would not have been able to do it without all of you. So I know we have in the agenda a section for questions now, but I think it's probably best to leave those for the time of the panel discussions. Instead of that, we will move now into the official handover. So I'm going to invite Iro, Madam Justice, please, Chief Justice, if you could come forward. I know the photographer will guide us as to how he wants us to set up. Okay, so more pictures. I think we're gonna move outside now to do a group shot. Is that accurate, Alban? Sorry? Oh, so we're gonna all set up in the back for a group shot. So if you put a group photo.